Well, I definitely feel a lot better than yesterday. I was ready to fall over dead by the end of yesterday. Shit. Got more rest last night. There's no way out of it. Fishing beats the living shit out of you if you do it. Either to make a living, whatever. If you're doing it the style that myself and my friends do it, I mean, those guys are doing it full time every single day, and you're on your feet from beginning to end. So you get up at 4:45 in the morning, and you are on your feet, working the gear non-stop. And so yeah, I got a whole bunch of people concerned, not getting enough rest, emailed me, appreciate it, and I know. But there's just no way out of it this past week. I had a bunch of days lined up to guide people from here, which I absolutely enjoyed every second of it. No regrets. But the sad thing is too, is I was up at 3:30 in the morning, 1 in the morning, chasing bears, this big bear around our yard. 2 nights in a row before I left to go out fishing. I left with 0 sleep, like none at all, and you are not catching up on sleep fishing. And then to top it off, finished up with a tuna trip, which is the worst one of all, but it had to be done. I'm very grateful and happy I did that too. And I got all the tuna processed, put away. Definitely have a year's supply of tuna, which was the goal. And the goal was reached, so it was worth it to me. Just unfortunately, I had to come home to more fence broken down. This whole place needs new fencing when we bought it. I don't know how many hundreds of feet I've done already, and I've done quick repairs on a chunk out the back, and my gelding just figured he knows how to push it over. He wants to go over and make friends with the llamas down the road. Then the poultry barn, the chickens and the turkeys showed up, and I get the poultry barn finished in time. There's so much shit, but I got that done. I'm slowly catching up. But anyway, enough of my babbling. Excuse me. What do we got? Got a whole bunch. Alright, so yesterday, sometimes it doesn't take much for me to go off and pass off stuff without doing my due diligence, whatever, but the big word of the street yesterday was Starbucks is going to be the first to go cashless. And of course I passed off an anger post about it on my social media, which doesn't take too much when I'm exhausted. But the fact is, if they're rumored that they're going to do it, they're going to do it. They're going to do it eventually. Starbucks is one of the worst ones when it came to being the nut cases when it came to the virus, when it came down. And if or when the society does manage to do a cashless thing on the people, as they control the labor at all costs globally, it's going to cause a lot of pain and grief for a lot of people out there. Especially, you got to think, my brain automatically goes straight to, say, the single moms that are out there in the service industry, relying on those tips. Farmers that are just going to cash deal for hay, whatever. You could go up and down with a million cash examples of why we need money, and it helps us with our freedom. It prevents us from being controlled absolutely, which unfortunately some monsters on the planet are really trying to push for right now. But let's just say Starbucks is the first piece of shit business to go full cashless, using the zero contact purchases as their excuse. If they do that here, I will go through the drive-thru and I will rack up a monster order, and I will go to the pay window and say, sorry, I only got cash, and I'll drive away, and I'll do that every frickin' idle moment I have. And I'll encourage every single person to do that as well and fight back. So there's my stance on a cashless society, and the first businesses to pull that shit on our asses, go at them. Do whatever you can to make their life hell while they're trying to make your life hell. All right, bit of a rant there. What else? Sarah's parents, Sarah's aunt, created a GoFundMe when their barn collapsed, and I think they're up to $300,000. It has been quoted to repair it, and they managed I shared their GoFundMe account here, and a lot of people, generous, kind people from around the globe, donated a few bucks. And I think they got around $60,000 from the GoFundMe through family and friends and communities that sent them money to help rebuild their lives. Basically, it's their income, family farm, second generation, third generation farm. But anyway, my quick note on that is they are absolutely sick with COVID right now. Barely talk on the phone, so his dad's hacking his frickin' ass off, and they're fully vaccinated. Very concerned about them, but I wanted to pass that one on firsthand. Fully vaxxed, can barely function from being absolutely sick. Go figure. I know that's not a new one, but I thought I'd pass that on. What else? Shelves are being empty. Shelves, lots of items are empty on shelves. It's tough to get automotive parts right now. A friend of mine who owns a logging contracting business said it's absolutely brutal just trying to get parts for their equipment. And as we were running offshore to go to the tuna waters, there was an evergreen shipping container basically sitting there with the motors idling, not moving, drifting aimlessly about 35 miles off the coast of Vancouver Island, fully loaded to the nuts with containers sitting there idling. From Singapore originally. The hull was from Singapore. And I imagine what that crew member had to say about our Canadian government as they travel around the globe with all the goods ready to restock shelves, and they are ordered to sit there drifting offshore. I got a video of it. Maybe I'll even post it up in this video if I remember to. Gotta make me shake my head. What else? A lot of people emailing me asking me about the guide outfitter update in the Northwest Territories, who emailed me about the guides being terrorized daily. He said that he could not make it into that camp until September, which is this month, because they have camps all over the place, remote camps. Most outfit areas are like in the thousands of square miles, and you have different camps all spread out. And I believe that it was his native crew, I think they live up there, who took the video standing inside the cabin, pointing the video camera at the porch, or basically sticking the camera outside the door while these things are screaming. And what's the update? I don't know. I haven't emailed him back and asked. I emailed him. My last email was to offer up. Of course, Dave wanted to dive right in and go up there. I was on the fence. I have another friend of mine up north who had a 4-seater plane who's willing to fly in there. And I said, I don't know. Myself, I was on the fence about doing that. But my friend with the plane and Dave were like, let's go. And I ran that by him and said, hey man, I don't know what's going on, but if you want, come up there. And he didn't really give a reply to that. But I believe, like, he did not have any knowledge on the truth when it comes to these beings. When he contacted me, he said flat out that he didn't give it any thought at all. But he said, but now I know. And he did say that he was going to hopefully try to videotape them in September when he went to that camp. So, who knows? Maybe possibly he instantly hit that mindset of, I'm going to be the first one to videotape these things. Maybe. I don't know. But when I leave here to go up north, I will be going to another ranch where my friend who owns that ranch, and I'll be filming and helping some elk hunting there. He is very tight with this outfitter. So I will be on the topic then, and possibly we'll get in touch with the outfitter and find out what's the update, what's up, what's going down. And I'll find out then, all right? And for anybody who thinks it wasn't legit, it's very, very legit. I would stake my life and my horses' lives on the fact that the outfitter experiences going on out there in the Northwest Territories currently is very 100% legit, okay? Like a lot of you guys out there are like, man, beyond that, how come you're not doing this? How come you're not investigating that? How come you're not looking into that? My stance is whatever. I've seen them. I've heard them. I've seen them. Whatever. And I am not in any kind of a race at all to obtain any first ever videos or photos or sounds. I don't give a shit about that race. There's a bunch of people that are in that race thinking they're probably going to strike the gold mine when they get that absolute proof for the world. How about it? I'm good. My main theme is to make sure that all of you are heard and taken very seriously, and that the knowledge that you've acquired, without looking for it, gets shared with the communities. That's what we're doing. Meanwhile, there's going to be organizations and groups and everybody else over there thinking they're in some kind of a race and some kind of they're climbing some ladder of knowledge to get to that top rung of that ladder, when meanwhile that ladder doesn't really lead anywhere. Okay? So that's my stance. That's why I don't get overly excited or enthusiastic when video clips or current experiences are going down on somebody's private property. It's like, whatever, it's going on all around the planet, man. Let's get on with hearing the people and getting the knowledge out mainstream. That's what I'm doing. And as far as proof goes, you know as well as I do, it's been proven easily thousands of times already. Accept it or not, take from it what you will or leave it, but that's the fact. Fact is, there is nothing anyone can do at this stage of the game to change the evidence delivery to the world. And I was babbling. Let's get another little shot of caffeine in me, shall we? Edgar. I've been leaving Edgar alone. I've explained in the past why I leave him alone. He's got a family. And he's battling cancer. He's a senior in our population. And who knows what time he has left. And I encourage Edgar always to make sure he enjoys time, takes time with his loved ones, his family, priority number one. And whatever we can get after that is just an absolute generous bonus for us. He's diligently putting on paper 30 some odd hours of conversation, and he has to edit that out to make sure that nothing slips through the cracks to point to who it is. It's quite the task, and I also realized earlier that if I just share tidbits that he shares with me as he's going, it's like sharing 7 paragraphs out of an entire chapter with you guys. And then next thing you know, I get another chapter shared to me a few days later. So I have to pull in the reins on me and wait until I have the full package to deliver smoothly so you can understand it. All right, so that's what's going on in that department. But that department's still going. I'll probably give him, now that I'm slowly getting caught up, I'll probably shoot him an email to make sure he's all right, see how he's feeling, see how he's making out, and if there's anything I can do to help him. Now, that's it for my spiels. I think. I'm sure I'll come up with something in a bit. Somebody needs to be heard. Excuse me. Many people need to be heard. I've got my messages down to 888 unread in my notes, not including what's in the inboxes. Okay, what's this one? R.E. The Tony Robbins comment. Steve, while listening to a post of yours from 2 weeks back, the one referencing Tony Robbins and your wish to be better at convincing people. No, not convincing people. I want to be better at motivating people and filling them with knowledge and motivating them, encouraging them, not convincing. I had an urge to email you. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with improving your speaking ability, but in this case, I think you've set your bar high to be obtainable. Be comfortable with the knowledge that you do get the message out to a vast number of people. Don't think less of yourself because people choose to be ignorant. They are on this way because of personal reasons, and each one chooses not to accept new data into their paradigm. No matter how skilled you become, you'll still not reach these people. It's been reported that ships returning from Alaska's gold fields with their now rich passengers sank. Some passengers drowned, some survived, and some wouldn't let go of their gold. Do you think the latter survived? Even confronted with unquestionable choices, they chose incorrectly. Go figure. My point is, nothing you can do better that will get the message to all the people. Sorry, my point is, nothing you can do better that will get the message to all the people. You should just go on and continue doing what you do by getting the message out there so everyone who look can find it. Sorry, that's my suggestion. Never should you do anything. I personally cannot think of anything you can do to improve your daily readings. I've been listening for almost 2 years and agree with the roundtable method. Best to you and your loved ones. A friend you haven't met yet by the name of Ron, Washington State. Okay, thanks, Ron. Appreciate it, man. I get it. I know I don't waste too much time getting too stressed out about the delivery, but at times I just wish I could get so many people heard quicker, because you just can't. There's so many, right? There's so many freaking people. And even if, like you say, there's lots of people offer up, I'll help. What are you going to do? We're going to put them all out there so that people can listen to two at a time? It's not possible, right? I don't know, I guess maybe somebody would actually want to read them for 8 hours a day on a continued channel, 8 hours a day, but who's got that kind of time in life? And I would never encourage anyone to sit in front of this damn tube for that many hours a day. You need to live. You need to get outside in the real world and smell that air and ground your feet on that ground and experience life. So what do, right? You keep going when you can, and you never quit. That's the key to everything in life. You never quit. I'll never quit. Never. Thanks for that email. Appreciate it. And I get it. I'm picking up what you're putting down for sure. Newfoundland cabin slap. Right on. Finally from Newfoundland. I don't think we've heard from Newfoundland previously. Maybe once. Hi Steve, I recently watched one of your videos when you said you haven't had any reports from Newfoundland. I wrote you a year or two ago, but it didn't make the air. Shit. So once again, here's the Newfoundland experience. I'll not give my name as I have secret security clearance, which is scrutinized. Back in the late 80s, a bunch of us buddies hung out at a friend's seaside cabin during the weekend and summer holidays. During weekends and summer holidays. We really enjoyed it there, living on our own, drinking, playing cards, and acting adult-like. We were in our late teens, but this cabin gave most of us the creeps. We always joked that when you went outside to relieve yourself, you stand with your back to the wall because you felt like something was watching you. There's only one encounter, and it happened in the middle of the afternoon. There were 4 of us this week, and 2 of our group decided to go back to town for showers and supplies. We didn't have our own vehicles, so the guys decided to hike to the highway and intercept one of the parents that was teaching in a neighboring town at around 4 p.m. The highway was approximately 2 kilometers from the cabin. We left at the cabin. Left at the cabin was myself. I think he meant all left at the cabin was myself and the larger, tougher guy of our crew. We decided we'd take the opportunity to catch some Z's, as the evening would probably be another late one. There were 2 couches intersecting at the corner of the cabin. Above each couch was a large, single-paned window. We flaked out on the couches, feet to feet, and soon dozed off. All of a sudden, there's a loud slap on the side of the cabin in the corner between the 2 couches. I still remember the noise. The windows made like a vibrating, wobbling sound. I remember you said you remember the sound the stovepipe made in your slap encounter. Yeah, never forget that. I can hear that sound right now. I just heard it as my memory went back. My buddy, the tough guy, jumped up, grabbed the axe on his way out the door, then came in puzzled. He said there's no one out there. The cabin is a fair distance from the woods with the ocean on one side. We checked under the deck to see if some friends were messing with us, but nothing. We had a come year festival in our community this year, and I met my friend after 30 years. He did not remember the encounter. Another experience further away on June 21st, 2000, my ex-wife and I were relocating from Yellowknife to northern Alberta. We were driving tandem in our pickup trucks, keeping contact using CB radios. We had extra gas in cans because we were not sure the frequency of service stations during our drive. As we were approximately 15 minutes outside High Level is a place in Alberta, I called my wife to ask her to stop at the next rest pull-off to fuel up and empty our gas cans so we wouldn't have to do it in town. It was late in the evening, the dark coming on, but the sun still lit up the valley. As it began filling up the first vehicle, we began hearing the loudest, most mournful cry I have ever heard. It happened at equal intervals and volume. I remarked to my wife to scan the tree line and to let me know of any movement. I could tell the being was quite some distance away, but the volume and depth of the sound filled the valley. My wife did say, "Oh, that poor thing sounds so sad." All I could think of was how large it must have been. It sounded like something from Jurassic Park. I've been witness to many weird and unexplained things to the point my friends joke about it. Are some of us more in tune to see and hear these strange things? Sometimes I wonder if maybe I'm crazy. LOL. I feel fine and I'm leading a good life. LOL. Thanks for the medium to tell our stories. I look forward to being in the Vancouver area in October to take in some of the sights you've shared. All right, cool, man. I don't know if you guys all remember, I don't know how long ago it was, last year or something. We had that sound sent in from the guys cutting wood not too far from Fort McMurray, which is northern Alberta. And that sound that they recorded was absolutely freaking terrifying. It sounded similar to what movies have depicted a Tyrannosaurus sounding like, similar to that. Who knows what the hell a Tyrannosaurus sounded like originally, if they even did make sound, right? Crazy, man. Crazy, crazy. The slap of the wall. That wasn't a very fun night for me at all by myself. I think I was 19 or 20. 19 or 20. And I had an old Lee Enfield World War II vintage rifle as my very first one. Bought it for 150 bucks. And had one of those 9-shot pop-up magazines with peep sights in the back. And there's a little leveler that you wound the rear sight up and down. Flipped up. And I'll never forget, I was just sitting there reading a book, that's all I could do, and I slowly got up off the couch, no curtains on the 2 windows, there's a window across from me, a window on the end, and I had my back to the wall, on the couch, wood stove right here, and that thing was beating on the wall at the top, up here behind me. And you want to talk about pucker factor. And all I could do is just got up, calmly walked in the bedroom, grabbed that rifle, jacked one in, worked the bolt, put one in the tube, slammed that magazine home, and put it. I put it on the floor right beside me on the couch and just sat on the couch. I wasn't going outside there. I wasn't going out. No way. And I just sat there. What do you do, man? Right? It wasn't fun. It wasn't a fun experience. I can't imagine what it would be like for those people who are in remote cabins getting tormented all night long from boulders and all sorts of shit getting tossed. For Newfoundland, there we go. Kansas Encounters 2. Sorry, it's not a duplicate. Clifford Stevens here again. You requested a description of the being I seen in Burlington, Kansas that looked like a predator. The predator. Excuse me. When I had a bird's eye view from an apartment balcony overlooking a smooth bend to the left in the road that passes by the river dam in town, the car made the slight jog to the left easily, but swerved abruptly to the right, like he was trying to avoid hitting something in the road to the left. He went into the ditch and got out very cautiously and seemed to be looking in the direction of what I first thought was a giant swarm of gnats or maybe dust off to the left of the road, just inches in the grass, about 25 feet from his car. He then got out his phone and proceeded to take a couple of photos of this thing. He definitely looked freaked out and ran back into his car. I assumed to call a friend. A truck showed up about 5 minutes later to pull him out in a frantic hurt. This mass was still standing upright and seemed to be looking at all this going on, but stayed motionless. It seemed to be facing the opposite way from my vantage point towards the car and truck. Although you couldn't see an actual detail of this thing, you could definitely see it had an upright, large, almost human stance. The car light didn't all the way pass through it, but almost bent around it in tiny bends, but light was still passing through it, but not in a straight line. I could see through it like foggy glass or glass with a slight smoke to it. No shadow visible on the ground around the figure. It just vanished after the car and truck sped away. If these things can't alter their reality like I believe they can because they share some DNA with angels, then they can make themselves either completely see-through or shimmer while fading in and out of our realm. Just my theory on that, but I do believe they can definitely move in and out of our reality. Philip in the Bible got done baptizing the Ethiopian eunuch, and after the eunuch come up out of the water, Philip was gone. Philip instantly found himself in another city. I believe this is just one example of either teleportation or opening a portal and going through it for instant travel. Either way, it is interesting and can connect a few dots in what I've been studying for all my adult life. I hope this helps someone too. Be blessed, brother, and keep moving forward. Now that is very interesting to me. I do remember reading that, and I do remember asking I remember you said in that previous email that the headlights were on this thing. I'm like, oh, holy shit. Well, what was that like? What did that look like? And thankfully you replied with a very detailed description of what happened when the light hit that thing. That is very interesting, don't you guys think? So the headlights went through it, but changed course through it and didn't go through it as bright as around the sides and changed course around the sides. And you just said, whatever. How bizarre is that? Light went through it. Light went through it, but didn't stay straight. So bizarre. And again, I would imagine Dave Plottis would be interested in hearing that, but I'm sure he's probably already been aware of that for some time now, if I had to guess. God, so bizarre what's going on. So bizarre what's going on for real, in the real world. The real world, so much of it has been kept away from us. Isn't it ridiculous? It just pisses me off. It just makes me frustrated and angry that these dirty, filthy bastards have managed to herd humans so effortlessly, right? It's been so easy to herd the humans for how many generations now? Crazy. Getting back out into the back country. Thanks for sending that email back, man. Appreciate your reply. It takes time to go out of your way to email people. Time's precious. Getting back out into the back country is the title of this one. Steve, if you read this on the channel, you can share my name. I'm not ashamed of the truth. My name is Bob Anderson, and I live in the San Juan Islands, not too far from you as the crow flies. Bob, appreciate you, man, and I appreciate your delivery. And yes, I know where you are. You hear it all the time, but now you get to hear it again. Thank you, brother. I'm so grateful for what you're doing. It stands to reason you'd be on the right side of the ongoing assault on the people by the central bank cabal and Davos elite. Man who seeks the truth will want the truth of all things. Like me, I know you'll keep after it, never surrender. Thanks for encouraging words. We're on the same page. Now, on to the purpose of this email. I've been dipping my toe back into the wilderness after an experience I had nearly 30 years ago. Since that time, I've continued to enjoy camping and fishing, but it's always been around other people and always in well-traveled places, and I can no longer sleep in a tent because it completely made I can no longer sleep in a tent unless it's completely made of mesh with a tarp strung above to keep out the rain and dew, but high enough that I can see out in all directions. What's worse is, I haven't been hunting since that day. I'm gearing up to go this season. Deer and elk, archery, black powder, and modern rifle, God willing. Go. You just go. End of story. Here you go. What happened to me was nothing extreme, like some of the experiences you've shared on your channel, but even thinking about it now, I get an adrenaline rush. Same, I understand. Me too. My heart is thumping in my chest as I type. Phew. 30 years. It's just like endless, like it just happened. And every single person listening right now is shaking their head in agreement. Without a doubt. Like I said, it was no big deal, but they made a hell of an impression on me. My brother and I had gone fishing for king salmon on the Skokomish River, just inland from where it flows into Hood Canal. The Skok flowed down through the foothills of the Olympic Mountains behind us, looking up the river basin. It looked so inviting. We brought our fly gear, so after a couple days we decided to break camp and head up the river into the mountains to fish the upper South Fork and the small lakes accessible for the miles of Forest Service roads that wind through the mountains. We'd already fished most of the day away, so we got a late start and didn't have a lot of time to find a good place to camp. So after a dozen miles and with just enough light left to set up camp, we pulled off the gravel Forest Service road we were traveling into a small area that had clearly been used for dispersed camping. We call such places redneck campgrounds. Our kind of place, LOL. There were 3 spots to camp, one which was occupied by an older man and a much younger woman. The 2 of them were drunk and giggling and all over each other. As we set up the tent, the lovebirds disappeared into their tent and we got to listen to them going at it for the next couple of hours. For an older guy, he had some stamina, and it sounded like she was having the time of her life. Now, good for them. It finally died down. We sat by the fire with full bellies, listened to the night noises, enjoyed a couple more beers and sips of bourbon, and talked about the trip and planned for tomorrow. Around 1 a.m., we banked what was left. Around 1 a.m., we banked what was left of the fire, stowed all the food and the garbage bag in my rig, and hit the sack. The only things we left out were our camp chairs and beer cooler that had exactly 7 beers left in it. I always carry a sidearm, and I hold my .45 beside me at arm's length, covered with my hat, and quickly fell asleep. I don't know what time it was when I woke up, but it was still full dark, and the morning birds had not yet started singing. The only sound was my brother snoring, slow and even. He was sound asleep. I listened for other night noises and couldn't hear anything. No frog sound, no night birds, no crickets, no wind, nothing. It was dead quiet, except for my brother's rhythmic snoring. It felt eerie as hell. I listened for a minute or 2, straining to hear any natural noise. There was nothing. And suddenly, I heard and felt a sound in the fir cones and duff. It was a single sound. Not a rustle like a branch falling, not a continuous movement like an animal jumping down, just a firm, heavy, single sound. It sounded like it was about 30 feet away from my end of the tent. A moment later, it was followed by another like it, only closer, and then another, each one closer. I counted 5 in all until the last one carried it into camp, right beside me, not 10 feet from where I lay. It was rhythmic and bipedal, that was for sure. With each step, a feeling of fear began to fill me until I was overcome with a sense of dread and terror, unlike anything I've ever experienced before or since. I heard one of the chairs being knocked over, and then a brief slosh of ice from the cooler. I thought, hell no. That drunk guy's stealing glass for a beer. No sooner had I thought it, I realized it couldn't be the drunk guy. He couldn't have been more than 5'9". There's no way he could have covered that distance in 5 steps. What the hell was out there? I wanted to see what it was. I had to see what it was. I decided to unzip the window to my right, but when I tried, I couldn't move. A stronger wave of fear swept over me. I thought to grab my pistol, but again, I couldn't move. The sounds had stopped outside, and I heard a voice in my head say, "Don't." It wasn't loud, but it was firm and ominous. I felt an enormous presence. I lay frozen in absolute terror. I felt helpless and weak. I closed my eyes and prayed silently that it would go away. A few seconds later, I heard it walk out of camp directly away from me, 90 degrees from the direction it came from. I counted more steps this time, 8 or 9 before it was out of earshot and the night sounds returned. My brother was still snoring. I wanted to wake him and ask if he heard or felt anything, but he had slept through it. I didn't want to ruin his sleep over something he wouldn't remember. I tried to move, and I could. I'd been on my right side, facing where the intruder had been. I rolled onto my back and lay there exhausted, but unable to sleep, kicking myself for being afraid. I eventually fell asleep, and in the morning I decided not to mention it. The lovebirds were up giggling and playing grab ass. My brother made breakfast while I packed up the tent. Then we headed up into the mountains and caught some pan-sized trout for lunch at a small mountain lake. We planned to stay another night or 2, but I told my brother I just realized I had to finish a job for one of my clients and we had to go. I told him we'd come back with my canoe in a couple of weeks and try to nail some of the big boys in the deeper water. He was bummed, but didn't give me too hard of a time. We never went back. I'm writing you more than anything to tell you and to encourage others that it's never too late to go back. I'll be out at Sequim for a golf and camping weekend with my nephew and a few buddies in August. Afterward, I'll be heading down to the Skoke, and I'll be driving up that same road. I planned a solo overnighter at another lake over the ridge from the one my brother and I fished. His health has suffered in the past decade, so he won't be coming. I feel like I need to go alone anyway. A few months ago, I asked him if he remembered that trip and the drunken lovers and the panfish by the lake, and he sure did. He said it was awesome, and he still wants to go back. I told him about what I heard and felt that night, and he believed every word. The thing is, when I got up that morning, there weren't but a few little cubes of ice left floating in that cooler, along with the 7 beers we left in it that evening. Apparently Sasquatch wasn't partial to beer. Thanks again for everything you're doing for We the People. And thank you for those who have written in for encouraging me to go back into the wilderness. I've missed it so much. I've been scouting in deeper and deeper, and now I'm finally ready to take the next step. Mind you, I'll be sleeping in the back of my Suburban. Not that some sheet metal and glass offers much protection, but it's a step in the right direction. God's continued blessings to you and yours. Drop me a line if you need help moving. We need more like you down here. Your friend Bob Anderson. Bob, appreciate you, man. Absolutely appreciate you and the time you just took out of your life to write all that down and get it out to the people, man. And yeah, what do I say to that? I mean, I'd be lying if I would be lying if I said right now I'm not thinking about these things in my upcoming month. Leading up to the time I leave for me to go back, especially alone and especially where I'm going up north. My first subtle thought, meaning not like absolute direct, but in the back of my mind, my first thought and feeling is, it gives me a little bit of a cringe when I'm home thinking about where I'm going and the possibilities of what just might go down again. And it doesn't make me feel excited, but then I more direct my thoughts to, I can't wait to see my trail cameras in the salt licks, and I wonder how big of a bull elk is actually living in the patch where I figured they might be, and if I'm going to be successful or not, what I'm going to get on film, etc., etc. But I'm just sharing that with you guys, that my initial feeling is cringe. And it's just for a subtle second or two, but I just go, oh, as I'm mentally preparing to go back up there again, right? But I do it, and I force myself to go anyway. And what I might do, I might take it the even further step this year, is after I'm done with the elk, I'm going to help a couple other guys hopefully get their elk, and another guy get his first elk. I'm thinking I just might go up north solo, probably going to go, and I'm going to go sheep hunting by myself up into the very remote northern Rocky Mountains of British Columbia. I've been up there numerous times, only a couple times solo. But I'm thinking I might do that, but it's just something you have to do. You can't. We weren't born. We weren't given this lifetime to keep it indoors in a box and waste it that way. We just weren't. No matter what, there's so many dangers out there and things that scare the shit out of your average human, and 99% of the shit that we are led to be scared of isn't worthy of it, right? So you got to overcome it and push through, quit being scared, and go anyway and live. Because believe me, it's one of my main motivational things that I find I've had to say to past hunters in the mountains. There's very few people come physically prepared to do what we do in those mountains every single day. And it would be so amazing to me, because some of these guys are spending literally tens of thousands of dollars to go on these hunts, and I got to convince them to go up and over this mountain, or to keep going through there or over here. And the number one thing I say to people is to motivate them, which I have a whole list of motivational lines that I'll use throughout a guided hunt. I'll just say flat out, look, if you don't do this now, it's going to be a year from now in a flick of a finger. And you're going to be in that lazy boy at home, remembering this time here in these mountains with me. And you're going to say to yourself, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't go up that mountain. Or, oh shit, I should have went down into that valley and around the corner with them. Why didn't I do that? And I'll guarantee you that that happens and that will happen, and there's no other outcome but for that to happen when you quit, when you don't do something you want to do. Mark my words, it's going to be a year from now in a flick of a finger for all of you who are putting off doing shit or who are not doing things because you're too scared. So quit it. Quit being scared. Especially quit being scared of each other. That's the biggest, from my observations of watching people fumble through this lifetime, the biggest F up that I have noticed is people being scared of people. It's such a shit eater. It's such a shit eater to have thrown into the mix when we were created. We're going to create people so that they're very susceptible to being scared shitless of each other. Why? Gosh. Why? Quit being scared. Imagine. Good luck hunting, man. Good luck hunting. I hope you are successful. And, I was going to add in, when you sleep in your Suburban, what I have done for me when I've gone to places where I feel a little bit more pressure than I like, just put a few trail cameras around you at nighttime. Face them outwards, just for the hell of it. Brings a little peace of mind, right? Helps you sleep all night long, a little better. What's this one? Did I read this? Did I just type that in as read and not read it? I think I did. All right, here we go. Just about screwed up there and I almost caused somebody that wrote in to never be heard. My two experiences. Steve, you can use my name, Rod Renfro. It's Renfro. I'm guessing that's Renfro. It's not Renfrew, Renfro. I grew up in California. Hate to admit that, and now live in Washington State. Starting to hate to admit that too, LOL. And was raised hunting and fishing. I love the outdoors and being respectful of all things. Excuse me. In 1989, I was hunting alone in an area that a friend told me he had seen a nice buck that would cross the road a few times a week at least on his way to work. He marked my map for me, and I was off the next chance I got. This area is close to Yosemite, 30 or 40 or so miles north of there, and is some rugged country. Elevation around 6,000 to 9,000 feet. It was the middle of the week, so not really anyone else around. Good for me. I got there just before sunrise and headed off, more scouting than hunting, looking for sign. I worked my way halfways up, then followed sign to the left side of the mountain. I came across a natural feature that I'm still kind of amazed by. It looked as if nature made on the side of this mountain a bowl-shaped valley, about 500 to 600 yards wide by 700 to 800 yards long. The mountain sloped normally to the top of this, and at the bottom below it. The sides of the bowl were almost level. I peeked over the edge, trying not to expose myself too much, and down inside was very thick timber. First thought was, there has to be a buck in there. Perfect. Most of my hunting is spot and stalk. I've gotten within 20 yards of deer multiple times in my life, so moving slowly and following a set of buck tracks, looking for a trail into this area was the plan. As I'm walking slowly, looking down, in my head I hear, "Don't go down there." I stopped and laughed to myself as if I was talking to a buddy, and I said in my head, "What? No way, man, there has to be a big buck in there. I'm going in." I took 3 or 4 more steps, continuing on, again in my head, "Don't go down there." This time I stopped. I was thinking, what? What was that? Story pause. At no time through this was there any fear or dread, no animosity, no get the F out of here feeling. I stood there for 5 minutes or so, using my binoculars, listening for sound, peeked over the edge, nothing. Still, I wasn't creeped out, and like many listeners will understand, I was in great shape with a high-powered rifle. I feared nothing. Again in my head, I said, "No, I'm going in." I continued slowly, got 3 to 4 steps. This time I heard, "Don't go down there," as my head was pushed forward, like an older brother gently pushing you on the back of the head, saying something like, "Hey, stupid, LOL." No shit. I don't think we've heard of that move before. This made me stop. I looked behind me, nothing. I was thinking, what just happened? But still not creeped out. Now, I can't say something physically touched me, but my head was pushed forward. I stepped up to the edge of this, looking into the bowl with my binoculars, looking for what I don't know. A bear, a mountain lion, a crazy psycho. This is California, by the way, LOL. I stood there for 10 or so minutes. Finally, I said in my head, "Okay, I'll go the other way then." I went back the way I came, continued hunting on the other side of the mountain. The rest of the trip was uneventful. That's creepier than shit. The second occurrence, next year, 1990, again, I was hunting alone. It was the general deer season, which in California, opening weekend of the general season, is the most dangerous time to be in the woods. Poachers, drunk road hunters, untrained hunters, shooting at any noise, littering, vehicles rip-roaring through the woods, etc. I planned to be at my spot until Sunday evening, but left in the morning due to the above. On my way home, I remembered about a good camping spot a friend told me about, that I'd drive to it if I saw a deer. Great. This spot is off Highway 88, above the Jackson area off Tiger Creek Road. About a quarter mile in, the paved road turned to dirt and gravel road. I could tell no one had been back in there, as there were no fresh vehicle tracks, and in some areas the trees were growing over the road. My car pushed the trees on both sides a few times. Good for me, LOL. I got a ways in, and the morning coffee I had was talking to me. I came up upon an area that looked like the fire department cut out for a staging area for a turnaround. It was about an 80-yard round cleared out spot with gravel laid down. I pulled into this and I felt fortunate afterwards. Stopped in the middle of this open area. No one's around, so why not? Turned my car off, stepped out, 2 steps, and let her rip. Just as I was finishing, I was noticing that there were no forest sounds, none. Just then, behind me, something broke a large piece of wood. Not a twig or a limb, but something as big or bigger than a wooden baseball bat. Neck hairs instantly went up. I grabbed my rifle, popped the mag, chambered around in record time, and was pointing in the direction behind me. Nothing there. No other sound than that. Nothing sneaking or running off. I did a 360, turned around 3 times, trying to locate the source. Nothing. After a minute or so, I said out loud, "Okay, I'll leave." I got back in my car and left back the way I came in. I still had to drive through the brush and trees, so my rifle stayed cocked, locked, and safety off till I got through that area and unloaded just before I got to the pavement. This incident, I was pretty sure what it was. I've never heard the term mind speak before. A couple years ago, I saw a video with Les Stroud, and he said that he had a mind speak incident, and it clicked. Did a search, and your channel was there. I was already subscribed to your site for the hunting, clicked on your video, and was hooked. With each story you read, put that puzzle together for me. Thank you, Steve, and never stop telling the truth and letting others tell theirs. P.S. Feel free to email me if questions. Take care, Rod. Rod, appreciate it, man. That's pretty bizarre. Like I said, I haven't had that yet. I don't want it. I'm not looking for that experience myself. Oh, hold on, I gotta mark these as red. The previous 2, and I was thinking, again, I think I mentioned before, what if? What if that skill of being able to know someone's thoughts and being able to impose on them absolute dread and fear and actually say to them, don't even think about it. Could you imagine if mainstream human beings had that skill? Could you imagine? I mean, the amount of abuse inflicted on humans from fellow humans with X amount of power or authority as it is unbelievable, right? The majority of people who are given some kind of authority or power over other people they just can't help themselves. They're usually abusive with it. So you imagine if we had that skill. You imagine the shit show that would be going on nonstop in our population. I'd be guilty of it. I'd be going after the dirty, filthy bastards with that skill nonstop. I already know I would not relent. I would not let up until they were all locked away in the loony bin, intentionally, if I had that skill, for obvious reasons, right? To protect the people. I would use that skill to protect the people, not to manipulate them and control them. I would use that skill to annihilate bad people. That's what I would do without a doubt. So it's probably better I don't have that skill myself, right? But it's something else, and imagine if the people who are in control right now, who are abusing the population daily on a mass scale, imagine if they had that skill too. Well, I guess they do have that skill somewhat to inflict fear and panic on the majority of the population currently. They've been pretty good at it. Hopefully, it's wearing off for them, but imagine if they had that skill to inflict that kind of dread on us, read our minds, and basically put a thought into our head to don't even think about doing this or going here or doing that. Maybe something else. Maybe that's got a lot to do with why these truths are kept from us, huh? Probably, right? It's probably why. One of the main reasons. But anyway, what am I going to do now? I don't know. I haven't even, this is my second coffee for the morning. Horses are out there. I let them out in the yard today. The goats are fed, the chickens are out. The baby turkeys and poultry, the poultry out back's all rocking it out. And tomorrow we're out of here. We're going to go in the last fishing derby of the season, Sarah and I together. And then on the way home, I'm going to stop in that river. And I'm going to hopefully put down my steel flat bars with the GoPros on them in various spots in the river. And I'm going to get some unbelievably cool underwater footage of those monster spring salmon, fresh spring salmons that come up. And it's supposed to rain this weekend. So hopefully that'll enable a handful of them to fly up the river again. And I'll videotape them. Anyway, that's it. I've been babbling enough. I don't even know how long I've been sitting here. So instead of ending on me babbling, let's get somebody else heard while I'm right here instead. It's very important. Try to rip down the list to find somebody who's waiting for God knows how long. There we go. What? All right, this is an odd title. I found out Bigfoot was real when he killed me, is the title of this email. And the author goes on, maybe I worded that wrong. I didn't mean overthrow literally, just to make that clear, more like a change by peaceful protest. I hope that comment doesn't get me on a government watch list or worse. Definitely a poor choice of words, a simple case of not thinking about it before I speak. All right, that was the secondary thought after the original email, I guess, so let's get into it. Steve, my name is Dee Dee. First, I want to say thank you for what you do, and I don't mean read Sasquatch encounters. I mean being the fighter we need to light a fire under the asses of all the intelligent people who are way past tired of all the bullshit from our governments, the media, the education system. Like you, I'm boggled by people's willingness to play the effing moron to the psychopathic elite and mindless puppets that lie to and deceive us at every turn. Excuse me. We've made it so easy for them that they don't even put any effort into making up somewhat believable lies anymore. Surely people have to be seeing through the bullshit that's going on today. You'd have to be one dumb son of a bitch not to, but I digress. I have a couple of encounters I'd like to share, and then a couple possible puzzle pieces. I'm from South Georgia. I'm a born and bred river rat. I still live on the same river I was born on 42 years ago. The Null Landing on the Ohoopee River. I grew up hunting and fishing with my daddy and playing in the woods, swamps, and the river by my house with all my cousins. Nobody watched us. We did whatever we wanted. God, it was fun. I say this to say I know and am comfortable with the woods. I know all the animals and their behaviors and sounds. When I was growing up and into my early adulthood, it wasn't uncommon to hear screams or a baby crying coming from the woods. I mean screams mostly described as a woman being murdered. The old people said it was the panthers, so that's what I thought, and it was normal. Today I don't think panthers cry like babies. I now know what it was from listening to others share their experience. My encounter. About 10 years ago, I was riding the golf cart around the river and stopped to light a cigarette. As I blew out the first cloud of smoke from the woods to my right, it sounded like a dinosaur was ripping and crashing through the trees straight toward me. The thought, I found out Bigfoot was real when he killed me, ran through my head, and I slammed on the gas. The dirt road was bumpy like a washboard, and the shocks were gone on my golf cart, so I was hauling ass, and the golf cart was slamming over the bumps, beating me to death. Ba-bam, 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 ba-bam. Over the sounds of the golf cart banging, I could hear it right on my heels. It never came out on the road, but it stayed to my right in the woods. It was loud, and it stayed with me until the woods ran out. I was looking over my shoulder, but never saw anything. After it was over, I convinced myself it was the glitch in my hearing that caused normal sound to sound really loud, and it must have just been a squirrel. It became a funny story I told people about the time my hearing glitched. I also had an experience about 4:30 one morning in the woods, walking to my tree stand when all the hair stood up on the back of my neck. I'd never felt anything like that before, and it stopped me in my tracks. I became immediately engulfed in fear and began looking around, but I couldn't see anything because it was still pretty dark out, but knew something could definitely see me. The mental image that projected in my mind was a werewolf-like being. I'm not saying that's what it was, and I don't know why, but I could see it clear as day in my mind's eye. I spun in circles a few times and beelined back the way I came and straight into the house. The hair standing on the back of your neck is a bizarre feeling if you've never felt it before. Yeah, I get it. Every hair on my body feels like it's going to snap in half when I've been freaked out. The past few years, they have been cutting down all the woods around here, and you don't hear the baby crying or the screams anymore. I also want to share some things I experienced possibly having to do with our suppressed abilities. I really hope you get this because I know you're interested in this type of information. It's the reason I'm sending this email. Hearing you talk about it has made me wonder about some things that have happened to me. There was this one time that I was in my room really upset about something I don't want to get into, but I was standing in front of my dresser mirror crying hysterically, screaming and pulling my hair when I heard the sound of metal jingling and opened my eyes to see the jewelry tree on my dresser levitate about a foot off the dresser, vibrating violently. See, that would scare the shit out of anybody initially. At the same moment, it startled me and it fell back to the dresser. A jewelry tree, if you don't know, is on about a foot tall metal wile sculpture of a tree they hang jewelry on. And I had a lot of jewelry on it, so you can imagine the sound it would have made when shaken. I guess it would have been something unseen in the room with me that did it, but I got that distinct feeling it was me that had caused it to happen. Like the energy I was emitting made it levitate. Also, I'm interested to know if anyone out there has experienced episodes of their insides vibrating. From time to time, my insides will start vibrating out of nowhere. It's an extremely strong vibration that feels like I'm going to fly apart in a million pieces. And I just lay down or sit wherever I am and I find something to hold on to until it stops. That'd be alarming. It could be something that happens to everybody, but the couple people I've asked haven't experienced it, and I wonder if it's related to what I was able to do that day in my bedroom. All the talk about us being vibrating energy got me wondering. Please comment if you've experienced this and have any insight for me. All right, there you go, you guys. Comment in the comment section below this video for this person. if you can relate or send them any help, all right? I know this is long, but I have a puzzle piece and then I'm done. It's about the Sasquatch disappearing. I spent a lot of time looking at the sky, and one night there was this really pretty moon out, so I wanted to take a picture of it with my phone. I lifted my phone up to the sky, and on my phone screen to the right of the moon there was these 4 big bright lights, a UFO. I put the phone down and there's nothing there. I lift it back up, the UFO. I do this over and over. There's a huge UFO right in front of my face, and I couldn't see it with my naked eye, but the phone could see it. I saw a video once of a woman claiming to be an alien, so they make themselves unseen by sending out a telepathic signal to change what we think we see. And they are able to replicate this using technology to cloak their craft. I believed her because of what I saw that night. Maybe that's what the Bigfoot do. Thank you for taking the time to read my email. I hope it wasn't a waste of anyone's time. Let me know when you're ready to overthrow the government and I'll be there. Hold it down, Dee. P.S. to those using the voice typing, you have to say the word, period, or comma, etc. to make a punctuation. Okay, thanks, Dee. Now the beginning of your email makes sense to what you said. There's a whole bunch there to chew on, isn't there? Maybe somebody out there can relate. Maybe a whole shit pile of people can relate. I don't know. We're going to find out. I'm sure they're going to reply to you in the comment section below. Who knows, right? I don't know. I mean, if that was the case, if it was you that elevated that and the vibration, I don't know. Wouldn't it possibly maybe happen all the time? Would it not? I don't know. Who knows? Is that something I would experience myself, seeing something levitate off the dresser in front of me? Not really. Because I would go instantly thinking there's one of those demonic things entering my life uninvited, and I wouldn't be too stoked to have that happen. But anyway, I gotta get going, and I think I'm gonna hopefully come back in here again to this evening and get as many people heard as I can, and then I think as I go inside now, I got a bunch of work I have to do inside on the computer, and I think I'm going to send Edgar an email, see what's up, see how he's making out, touch bases with him, and then just carry on, keep getting my shit done, and get ready to go up north.